The SEC and ACC Challenge has officially concluded, and it lived up to the hype. We got some amazing basketball, and now it's time to talk about the results. I jumped around all over the place in my last video previewing the challenge, but in this one, I'll go in order. I'll provide timestamps because I'm sure people are interested in specific teams. Tennessee and Notre Dame kicked off the challenge, with Notre Dame having a comeback win after getting blown out. I'm going to make a separate video talking about Notre Dame because last time I featured them in a video like this, I talked about them more than any other team combined. I'll also make a video about what Tennessee should do with Kelly Harper, but I'll say this, Kelly Harper hasn't done a great job, and Tennessee fans have a right to be frustrated, but it could get a lot worse. Oregon Duck fans have it way worse. Kelly Graves' coaching has been so awful that people have forgot Oregon is even supposed to be a powerhouse. All these five-star All-Americans and he's getting blown out by mid-major teams. At least Kelly Harper can make the tournament. It's clear Graves is nothing without Sabrina. In the 0% chance Grace Van Sluten or anyone close to her is watching this video, I want to say this. You don't deserve to be associated with this. Come to South Bend, Indiana. It's very similar to Oregon geographically, and Notre Dame has better facilities, and there's a winning culture. Grace Van Sluten deserves to be on a team that is competing for championships, and she would make Notre Dame unstoppable. All right, I wasted enough time. Time to actually talk about the games. Vanderbilt versus NC State is probably the weirdest game I've ever seen. Vanderbilt's defense was able to hold NC State in the first quarter and keep it close. Then in the second and third quarter, NC State boat races them. But in the fourth quarter, Vanderbilt beats NC State by 10 points. But it was too late by that time. I was laughing at Vanderbilt, but it seems like they are the real deal. I didn't take their undefeated record seriously because they were playing cupcakes. But after seeing them against NC State, they look like a ranked team. I definitely think they should be in the next AP poll. I don't know what happened to this team. They went from the laughingstock of the SEC to a team you have to be careful when playing against them. The fact they put up a better fight against NC State than UConn and Colorado should not be overlooked. As far as NC State goes, they are extremely dangerous. They have looked the most dominant outside of South Carolina, and I think they will only keep getting better. NC State had a high amount of roster turnover, so they are still learning how to gel together. I had Notre Dame winning the ACC before the season started, but NC State is kind of scaring me. They are definitely the biggest threat in the ACC right now. Miami beat ranked 21 Mississippi State. It's technically an upset, but I don't view it that way. You would think after Miami made the Elite Eight, people would take this team more seriously. In fairness to Mississippi State, they were dealing with a ton of injuries. I think they will be much better once their players get healthy. But Miami is still a good team that will upset someone if they aren't careful. Louisville beat Ole Miss on their home floor. Jeff Waltz has 5 straight Elite Eight appearances. He didn't do that by only relying on one player. As long as he's there, Louisville isn't going anywhere. Louisville is worse than they were offensively this year, but defensively they are significantly better. Outside of a weird loss to Alabama, they have looked really good. They are in a better spot than they were exactly a year ago. They play UConn in 2 weeks, which will be a really good test for them. If the game's competitive, I think Louisville is for real. I admit, I'll hold the L with South Carolina. The result was correct, but the margin of victory was way off. I hate when teams do what North Carolina did. It reminds me of the Clippers versus Lakers. What I mean is the mindset of, we don't care how the rest of the season goes as long as we beat this one specific team. They didn't play with half of this fire and intensity the entire season. Why not just play like that all the time? They could actually do something. If UConn destroys North Carolina, about 2 weeks from now, South Carolina rightfully should be very annoyed. I'm not gonna lie, the commentating was annoying me a little bit. They kept freaking out over every little thing Deja Kelly did. She had a good game, but she wasn't the one killing them. It was Alyssa Utsby. She was the best player on either team that day, but for whatever reason, they wanted to make it all about Deja Kelly. Now, what about South Carolina? I think people are overreacting. South Carolina is still the #1 team and the most dominant team. You aren't going to blow out everyone, literally every single game, especially with their intense strength of schedule. In fact, I would argue this is even more proof they are the best team. They went into a hostile road environment against a ranked team, and people are shocked, myself included, that the other team didn't get obliterated. That should tell you all you need to know. I think Camila Cardoso is getting too much criticism. She only had 6 points, which isn't great. But she had 16 rebounds and 4 blocks. And how many shots was she altering? She did her part. Camila Cardoso is not Aaliyah Boston, but people are expecting that, if not more, from her. What is she supposed to do? Have 20 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks every game? If she could do that, she would be the best player in basketball, and it wouldn't be close. The other players were the issue, specifically guard play. Raven Johnson did not play well. She was ineffective in scoring and only had 2 assists and 4 turnovers. Bray Hall was a lifesaver that game because everyone else was off. The result is most likely different without her. I don't question Dawn Staley very often because I think she's the most brilliant coach in women's basketball right now. I'm not thinking about accolades that some coaches got 4 scores and 7 years ago. I mean right now. But I didn't agree with her decision to bench Full Wiley, and I'll tell you exactly why. Michaela Williams looked terrible the first few minutes for LSU, but she was allowed to play through it and ended up destroying Virginia Tech. Hannah Hidalgo was playing bad for a whole half, but she turned it around and was a big reason Notre Dame was able to come back. I understand why Dawn did it, but I didn't think it was the right move. Full Wiley is the one who speeds up South Carolina to a ridiculous pace. I think if given the chance, she would have played much better on both ends of the floor. Yeah, she was messing up, but she wasn't the only one. But they won the game, so I guess it worked out. I had to watch the Florida State and Arkansas game on replay. I hate the fact they put it on during the South Carolina game, but it was really fun. I did end up being wrong about the result. Arkansas ended up getting the upset, and Talia Scott actually outplayed Latson, which is extremely impressive. I think Arkansas is one of the better teams in the SEC. Beating Florida State on their home floor is something serious. Sydney Poffenberger has been really good, and the freshman Talia Scott is something special. I want to give out a shout out to Chris because he was on the Talia Scott train way before anybody. There was a bunch of other miscellaneous matches like Alabama versus Syracuse, Boston College versus Kentucky, and Florida versus Georgia Tech, but I don't think those matches have any real bearing on the college landscape. Last but not least, LSU versus Virginia Tech. I'll start with Virginia Tech. I had LSU winning the game, but I was extremely disappointed in VT. I knew losing Traylor would hurt, but I didn't think it would be this bad, and it seems like Taylor took all the soul with her. Kitley is probably the most frustrating player I've ever watched. Liz Kitley should be Aaliyah Boston level, if not better. She's a 6'6" player who is an excellent free throw shooter, has an automatic mid-range, can shoot fadeaways, and has amazing footwork. But for whatever reason, she refused to use her size or get physical the majority of the time. She will settle for jump shots even if the player is significantly smaller than her. But that's the least of their worries. I thought this anyway when Virginia Tech barely beat Kansas and escaped Tulane. Virginia Tech is not a top 10 team. You have Georgia A. Moore and Kitley, but that's literally it. They aren't getting consistent production from any other players. This team has no bench depth either. If Kitley and Georgia aren't both dominating the game at the same time, they have a hard time winning. I still think Virginia Tech is a good team, but they don't seem top 10 to me, and they most definitely aren't the best team in the ACC. LSU, on the other hand, looked amazing, especially Michaela Williams. I would say she's special, but I think people know that by now. I see a lot of people saying she's already the best player for LSU. I still think Angel Reese is the best overall player, but Michaela is definitely their most dangerous weapon offensively. She's one of those players that you just hold your hands up and tell the coach there's nothing more you can do because you really can't. I'm very curious to see what LSU does, especially in conference play. It seems like they have an extremely dangerous starter core, which isn't very surprising. Anissa is balling, and Angel will get back to dominating. Flau'jae has shown a lot of improvement too. This is a lot to be happy about if you are an LSU fan. LSU can do either one or two things. If they build off this game and continue working on the things they're weak at, they can be right back in the Final Four and obviously contend for a title. But if they revert back to what they were doing at the beginning of the season with all the TikTok, social media nonsense, and feel like they already have the national championship in the bag, they will be in trouble again. Let's do a quick check to see how I did on my predictions. Out of the 8 matchups I predicted, I got 6 of them right. I do have take some points off for myself because I thought Notre Dame, NC State, and South Carolina would all massacre the teams they were playing, but they were single-digit games. But overall, I think I did pretty good. Y'all let me know. That concludes my thoughts on this challenge. I apologize for this video coming out so late. Uploads might be slow the rest of the week too, but there's some big videos coming out towards the end of the year I think you guys will really like. Something I wanted to ask the people watching this video, would y'all want me to do another top 10 teams video? I didn't plan on doing another at first because it was meant to be for the entire season, and I would say a lot of the teams I feel the same about. But there's also teams I didn't expect that are dominating, and some that are wetting the bed. So let me know if you would want to see another. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you later.